Welcome to fuck. I forgot what we're called.
It's okay. I forgot to. It's Destination Procrastination, motherfuckers. DP. Oh yeah.
Welcome to our podcast, Confessions of a Serial Gamer. Today we are going to be doing a review of Black Panther: The Client, which is roughly which is roughly the first five-ish issues. Five-ish issues. Yeah, of his 1998 series, written by Christopher Priest. We're doing this to continue on the Black Panther gravy train that's put into the station, been disassembled and put into storage.
Yeah, or at least we would have if Corbin remembered the actual name of the fucking podcast. It's Confessions of Serial Gamers, not of a serial gamer. There's two of us in this.
Yeah, but there's only one that matters.
Yeah, me.
Do you know, people say words don't hurt, but anyone who's being bullied out there, don't let anyone treat you the way that I'm treated by Ben.
Hang on, I'm not getting into that conversation now. Anyways, we're doing Black Panther: The Client, issues 1 to 5, because Black Panther has been beaten by a dead horse and revived, and now we're beating it again.
Beaten by a dead horse.
Yeah.
Beaten like a dead horse. You don't pick up a dead horse and beat something with it to get it to work.
I'm pretty sure the Hulk's probably done something like that.
Don't fucking try and mask it. You're an idiot.
You're an idiot. You spent 10 times trying to get this recorded.
Yeah, we've a nice old blooper reel coming.
It's not coming because you deleted all the files.
Sure. But yeah, it's written by Christopher Priest. He's done a lot of good work on Black Panther, I think. He's
done a lot of good work. I think. Maybe. Who knows?
Shut up! I can't remember if he just wrote The Client for Black Panther. But yeah, I finished reading The Client like 2 months ago. Ben finished reading it about 2 hours ago.
And now we're here doing this instead of the movie because we fucking forgot the movie.
we didn't jump on the movie quick enough.
No. All right, so
where do we start?
Let's start with who's your favorite character?
Oh, Ross. Agent Everett K. Ross at the State Department is the greatest character ever.
Very true. I know. I like Zuri. Zuri
doesn't think it's a feast unless the women are not clothed and someone is dead.
That's not in The Client, but whatever.
It isn't. Oh yeah, it's a couple issues later.
Yeah, it's not 1 to 5. But man, a lot of weird shit happens in The Client.
Yeah, we're gonna try and not to spoil the major plot elements, but we might have to. So spoilers from this point onwards.
All right. So general impressions. What's the general impression?
Oh, the story is brilliant. It just oozes cool.
Yeah, it is. It's a very 90s story.
Yeah, from the minute you open the page, you're just hit by this cool air of like Busta Rhymes Black Panther.
That's my thing. I call him Busta Rhymes Black Panther.
Busta Panther.
BP Busta Panther.
Black Rhymes. No, never mind.
That's a bit racist.
But yeah, we call him Busta Rhymes Black Panther because he's bald, he's tall, he's muscular, and he's this handlebar mustache. But he just oozes sophistication, suaveness, and coolly. He's the coolest.
Shut up. Just shut up.
Finally, I just won't talk for our entire hour and a half long podcast.
Man, we've only made the 3-minute mark. I don't think we can keep this going for now.
You'd be very surprised.
Anyways, so yeah, Everett K. Ross is he is a cool character. He's an interesting character. He's different.
I want to say he's the straight man in the comedy routine with T'Challa, but it's like they're both the straight man, and it's strange how their dynamic works.
I don't know. He seems like such an awkward character that he has to kind of like put comic relief everywhere to deal with his awkwardness.
Yeah, he seems very like
he's very insecure about himself.
He thinks when he's dealing with T'Challa, he's not dealing with a king. He's dealing with like a gangster from Harlem.
Yeah.
So he's trying to fit in with the Harlem
people.
Yeah, the Harlem kind of what up, bro, kind of stuff.
Oh man, like that one scene outside of the club. Do you know when spoiler alert, the drug dealers, they all come after them, and then he like whips out.
He whips out his stage for imagining he's a big man. Like, okay, cool.
He's like, What did he say? He
We're
said
gonna have
something-
choppers and tanks down here any minute. And they're like,
No.
sure, give me my badge back.
He didn't say that. He said, don't start none and there won't be none.
Don't start nothing, you won't get nothing, son. I'm like, Jesus.
And he steals and then the drug dealer steals the wallet and bites the corner out of it, and then just steals it.
Yeah.
And he used to.
But
Oh,
the story would not be half what it is if it wasn't told through. The story's told through Everett K. Ross's, who we're going to be referring to as Ross from now on.
not General Ross.
It's told through his eyes,
Yeah.
and there's a running joke throughout the whole series that he cannot tell a linear story
Oh, really?
to save his fucking life. So like it jumps back and forth, and things happen at the end, at the start, and
Yeah.
all over the place, and it's amazingly well told, despite.
Yeah, despite the fact that it goes from the end to the middle to the beginning to the end to the middle.
What's the thing Nikki says to him about telling a linear story?
I don't know. I just remember there's that scene where she's like, Ross, if you don't tell a linear story, I'm going to shove this coffee in your face. And she does.
Sorry, Ben's dog Ruby just walked in.
Even though I have the door barricaded.
Yeah, so I'm going to keep talking while Ben gets rid of her. Sorry for the noise to any headphone users. But yeah, it's presented through Everett K. Ross's eyes. And it's very strange in that it's a normal person not only living a superhero's life, but living a king's life and having to deal with, growing accustomed to the traditions of a king of an African nation. You can tell throughout the whole story he's very not comfortable with everything that's going on. Like, T'Challa's Dora Milaje with your 17-year-old sexy karate girls, as Ross describes them.
Yeah, the adored ones. Bit weird. A lot of weird shit happens with them.
Yeah, but
the
Ross really does make the story.
Ross makes the story.
Because it's weird, for a Black Panther story, in the whole 5 issues, T'Challa says surprisingly little.
Yeah, he doesn't talk a lot. He's much more of an action man.
Yeah, he doesn't. He says a couple things here and there, but there's no long monologues. You don't really hear what he's thinking. You just more hear what Ross thinks he's thinking.
Yeah, there's never a thought bubble that comes up that explicitly describes like T'Challa's thoughts. It's all kind of like Rob basing his opinion on what he thinks T'Challa's about to do, and then like T'Challa in this is just very much a man of actions. Like he's in such a rage by the time he gets to New York when he finds out what's happened with his Tomorrow Fund
and the little girl has been killed, and he's what a king should be. He's very composed, he's very calm, he's very cool and collective, but you can tell on the inside he's just seething. But he can't. It's almost like he thinks he's above things like hate and doesn't want to admit to himself that he feels them.
Yeah,
because that would mean he's not a king who can do everything and save everyone. He's a normal human being.
Yeah, it's the same when he's on his phone and he's Skyping his mother. Well,
Ramonda, his stepmother. It's complicated.
And Ross picks up on the fact that there's a slight second where T'Challa is just losing his cool as he realizes that over in Wakanda there's a rebel force that's trying to take over and he can't do anything about it.
He's slightly cracking over the fact that it's an unforeseen problem, which is not something in the Klein story and all throughout the 1998 series. I'm at issue 25 now, and an unforeseen problem is not something that T'Challa encounters often.
Yeah, but excuse me. He's a man of action, and when he's in the States, like the first thing he does is he tries to bring all of the petty crime gangs to his side. There's even Ross says something like he disturbs like 6 blocks of Harlem's worst in one night, and he just goes on a rampage just in the Panther suit, just flipping cars into rivers and just turning everyone on his side or making them fear him, as sort of his way to express his rage about what's happened to the poor little girl that got shot. with his Tomorrow Front.
Yeah, it's almost like he's using his need for information throughout the city as a way to work through the anger he doesn't want to admit he has. But even when he's doing that, even when he's turned the drug use, like, he just emits cool.
He does. He's very kind of, like you said, he's sophisticated and he's crafted, and he thinks about everything.
He's 8 steps ahead of every single person at every single moment.
He's kind of like just like the Batman of this kind of comic book. He's always thinking ahead. He always knows what's going up. He even predicts that fucking Mephisto is going to show up.
Yeah, like even 20 odd issues later, which I'm on, there's never something. Rarely something happens that T'Challa openly admits that in some way he was not expecting it. Like, it doesn't happen. He has a plan. He has a contingency. He has a way out. He has everything. And even when he's hanging up the drug dealers, he says the exact same thing to everyone, which is, "Me and you now have an agreement. I spared your life, so it's mine. You will speak of this agreement to no man."
Yeah.
And he threatens, major consequence to anyone that does. And I don't know if we're at this bit, it might be later on where you are. Someone does speak of it. And, T'Challa just goes ham. T'Challa, he shows the rest of them that there is consequences for breaking an agreement with him.
No, that hasn't come up in the 5 issues I read. No one's kind of spoken up about it yet. But there's I don't know. There is the scene when he's in the refugee camp in Wakanda, where Achebe shows up, and he's just going ham on everybody because he's just so angry that all these refugees can't be happy, that he's after providing them with shelter, food, and medicine, and they don't want that. They want to take over Wakanda, and they want to have Wakanda for themselves, and he just can't understand, man's great
need for power and
cannot satisfy man's great greed.
Have more.
Yeah, and Achebe is just there like, well, this is kind of how stuff happens.
Like, I don't want to say Wakanda's a totalitarian society, but if it was, Wakanda and T'Challa is like the perfect image of what that kind of society, that kind of one leader society is supposed to be. Benevolent and for the people. But speaking of Achebe, what do you think of him as a villain? Okay, Ben's dog has come in again, so I'm gonna run on for a little while longer until Ben gets back. So yeah, Achebe as a villain, what did you make of him?
I don't know. I mean, he felt very much like the henchman in this. It was more kind of do it like Mephisto. I mean,
well, I can tell you that even though Mephisto does get dealt with by the end of the 5th issue, Achebe is still kicking around.
Yeah, there's that scene which I won't spoil at the very end of the 5th issue, which kind of makes Achebe a much bigger character than you think he is throughout the whole 5 issues. But I mean, just for the most part in the 5 issues, even sometimes it wasn't even Achebe that he was looking at; it was Mephisto acting as Achebe, and so I don't know. He never really felt like they always kind of described him as a pawn, or at least like, Black Panther says to Mephisto himself, he's like, Achebe isn't my real enemy. My real enemy is the person who's trying to take over Wakanda, and now that I know it's not you, now I have to go and try and find him. So Achebe just kind of seems like he's just the middleman and everything. I thought his backstory was very interesting, even though they described it in like one comic, but it was
like one panel in one page.
In one panel, like 3. One page, they just described his
But that's all. But like that origin story of Achebe does kind of stick with you, and that his wife betrayed him for a soldier who killed him, and he came back, and rather than kill the wife, he killed her mother or father or everyone she'd ever met.
Killed her teachers, he killed her friends, he killed everyone. But no, I mean, I do, like, you can understand Achebe slightly in that he's just been, betrayed by everyone, because when he took those leftist refugees in, he nursed them all back to health, even though he had a poor little farm, and he gave them all the food, and he looked after them, provided for them,
and they just turned on him.
They just killed him, and then fucked his wife.
I will say, Ashebe for the first 5 issues, is a great character. But over the course of the series, he degenerates from less as a maniacal kind of intellectual equal to T'Challa and more into kind of a giggling, very Joker-esque character, but without a lot of the charm the Joker carries. Because everyone likes the Joker, but at no point in the story do you like Ashebe.
No, you don't.
You don't,
Well, I mean, you like Bob.
Yeah, an interesting point on his design though. He is weird looking.
Oh yeah.
He grins with like 1,000 teeth. He has these massive ears of like 90% lobe. And I think the interesting point about his design is he's supposed to be this, vengeance-fueled monster that was brought back by the devil to just fuck with the world. And I think his design reflects the fact that he's supposed to be this kind of inhuman, force of chaos.
You mean like a spirit of vengeance,
Yeah.
Not like something Mephisto would ever do before,
Yeah, but I think, Ashebe is just he's so strange looking.
Yeah, he's a character that you can definitely tell he's been fucked around with. He has nearly no sort of redeeming qualities, no sort of humanity to him. He's just kind of, I am going to steal your shit, and I am going to pillage your women, and I am going to plunder your villages. And
do you know something that kind of occurred to me earlier on? We all know Ashebe is evil.
Yeah.
And he's mental, and he's taken over Wakanda, and he's against the Black Panther, but we've never actually seen him commit an act directly in opposition to the Black Panther in the whole client storyline.
I suppose he kind of he takes over as prime minister for a while.
Yeah, but that was part of the agreement to stop the war. He never outright does any. The Hatutsarazi do much more directly to impede T'Challa than
they do shoot him.
Yeah, than Ashebe ever does.
Yeah, they do shoot him with bullets that they know can't penetrate his vibranium suit, which is kind of stupid if you ask me.
Yeah, but Ashebe is a very, very interesting villain. He does get progressively less interesting and a lot more tedious as the series goes on, and you kind of just want him to go away.
Yeah, speaking of the Dogs of War, the Hatutsarazi, I'd love to see more of them. Obviously, there will be more.
Yeah, they come back. Wait till you meet Hunter, their leader.
We did meet Hunter.
Did you?
Yep, he was in a suit and he was talking to...
the white suit.
He was in the white suit and then it turned into the white...
With his little twirly
Dogs
mustache.
of War. Yeah, and then it turned into his white Hatutsarazi one with the cape. He's the only one with a cape.
Oh, wait till you find out Hunter's origins.
Yeah.
They're so good.
There is that one scene though where there's a flashback to T'Challa watching someone get tortured and through a window, and then Hunter is just kind of sitting behind him, and he's like, "How can you do this? This poor man, and all this kind of stuff. If my father knew about this," and then Hunter's just like,
"Your father doesn't care about the methods, just the results."
Yeah, your father just kind of your father knows all, but there are some things that he chooses not to know.
Yeah, and I think that was...
that's what I'm for.
I think that was
fuck the mic.
I think that was a big kind of world-shaking moment to T'Challa, because whenever he thinks back in his father, he thinks his father, being this great leader that kept Wakanda safe for decades, and, made them a global powerhouse.
Yeah.
But then thinking back to the fact that he willingly ignored the fact that he had secret police and who used torture and extortion to get information, I think it was the kind of moment that T'Challa realised he didn't want to be the kind of king who kept people under his thumb. Yeah,
and then there's also when he gets that flashback to when he first meets Ulysses Claw, and who's an ivory hunter and an outsider, and to T'Challa, that kind of messes with the whole sort of idea of Wakanda, that no one's supposed to know about it, and they're all supposed to be an integrate group.
Yeah, his father just let this
strange,
white guy in. Strange man into their country for hunting rights, or
for ivory hunting or something like that. Hunt the elephants and rhinos.
Yeah, and it eventually leads to Ulysses Claw, I'd say next to Killmonger, is the one person that T'Challa willingly allows himself to hate.
Yeah, there is that, because when Mephisto's messing with his mind, then obviously it's adult T'Challa and kid T'Challa's body, and he tries to kill Ulysses until Mephisto kind of goes, surprise, it's me, and then he turns himself into the poor girl from the Tomorrow Fund that was shot, and then T'Challa reverts back into himself, and he's like, oh shit, I almost killed a child.
Do you mind reminding me of who killed that child in the end?
It was some corrupt
the paedophile guy.
Paedophile, yeah. And I don't know, that was kind of a big letdown to me. It's like,
no,
great, it wasn't.
I kind of liked that Mephisto and Ashebi's reach wasn't just in Wakanda. It was, all the way across the seas, fucking with his Tomorrow Fund. It was all a big ploy just to get T'Challa lured away from Wakanda, and then it turns out T'Challa was aware that was the plan the whole time and was ready.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't know, just to go, oh yeah, it's just this random kind of pedophile, mobster. It's kind of like, okay, so this whole big lead up into who killed this child was just, exactly what you probably expected it to be. And there was no kind of, gotcha moment. It was just kind of like, he knew, you knew, like, how everything was going. They said it even before the series ended, that, Ashebe is probably doing this with Mephisto to get you out of Wakanda. And then, like, T'Challa's like, yeah, I realized that, but I'm still gonna go ahead and find out who killed the kid. And then it's nothing special. It's, he finds him, and then he's like, I'm not gonna kill you, I'm just gonna throw you into Torque.
Yeah, it's a good, there's a lot going on in the story. It's a fantastic story.
Oh, I'm not saying it isn't.
It's probably the best Black Panther story ever written. But there is so much going on, packed into 5 25-page issues.
Yep.
We could just hear Ben's mum in the background giving out.
Yep.
Sorry, we're not exactly in the most professional setup in the world.
You could call professional a bedroom with no soundproof and no way of blocking any sound that anyone makes in the entire house.
It should be about the content.
Should be, but this is YouTube. Everyone judges each other.
But that's not.
We accept that.
But anyways, getting back to Ross. Yeah. Ever K. Ross. He does more in the entire story than anyone else. And it never amounts to anything. Because that's the point of his character.
It's true.
To do all this stuff. Like, I remember in The Client, it shows that he's trying to show off to T'Challa. So he goes to pick him up from the airport in his 2-seater Aston Martin.
Yeah. And
it turns out T'Challa's arrived with like an entourage of 10 people.
It's way more than 10 people he came with. And
Ross is trying very hastily to explain that, maybe his car isn't the best means of transport to get them there. And T'Challa's like, no, nonsense. It'd be an honour for us all to go in your car with you. You've come all the way here to pick us up. And Ross is like, no, really, really. It's a 2-seater Aston Martin. And T'Challa's like, let me pull my car around. And this is bulletproof, stretch limousine driven by his 17-year-old sexy karate chicks.
Made out of vibranium, so it absorbs sound in the trunk. And that's how he throws the paedophile mobster into it.
Oh, it's just, or his class boots that take the inertia out of everything so he can fall off like skyscrapers and stuff.
And then he did that weird thing when he was fighting the Dogs of War where they like glowed blue and he could like backhand spring himself all the way up the building and kick the shit out of the two of them that were falling after him.
The whole story just makes you think that Black Panther is the coolest superhero in the world.
It really does. I mean, like,
I think it's because a lot of it is put in contrast to Ross, who is the least cool person in the world.
But I mean, everyone in that story is cooler than Ross, except Nikki. I found Nikki a bit annoying, but
that never goes away. Nikki's kind of irritating. Like, there's one point,
Naked Banjo,
there's one point later on in the story where I'm not going to spoil it for you because you haven't read that far. I'm not going to spoil it for everyone at home, but Ross finds out something about Nikki and the Black Panther that Nikki didn't tell him, and Nikki refuses to feel sorry about it, and it just pushes Ross over the edge, and it's the only time you see Ross ever kind of lose his temper and stop being this, the parody of a human they make him out to be, and just this guy with real problems and real psychological issues.
It's not the first time we see Ross lose his shit. There is the time in the club when they throw his ID into the cage with girls, and he's like, "Screw it, I'm getting my ID back one way or another," and then the girls just beats the crap out of him. And that's when my favourite scene happens.
The foxy
Zuri just breaks in and goes, "Friend Ross, you are the anointed one of Wakanda. I will fight in your honor." And he just runs in and beats the crap.
Nothing better, because it happens about 20 times in the entire series that off panel you will just see a speech bubble with big writing saying "Friend Ross," and
Friend
you know
Ross.
Exactly who's coming and why he's there and what's going to happen. Like, there's a point later on, like in issue 10 or 12, where Ross ends up getting shipped to Iceland for the poor job he did with keeping T'Challa in control. And you think he's just left in Iceland, that's the last you're going to see of Ross. And off panel, you see Zuri standing on a panel. "Friend Ross, our king has spoken to your State Department. You're coming with us. Yes or no?" I love, like, there's a point when Zuri, they throw a banquet for T'Challa, and Zuri's there in like proper tribal Wakandan gear, and he goes, "Kind of feast is this? No one's dead, the women are all clothed," and Ross just looking at him going like, "Zuri, I like you."
Zuri is just
the best. He's about 65.
I think he's better than Ross, actually, because he's so used to his own ways, and he just can't understand.
You can tell he's like those tourists who've never been outside their own country.
Exactly.
It's like bringing your granddad on holidays, and it's amazing.
He's just not able for any of this shit. Like, there's so many times when like something happens and Siri's just going, "Why are you doing it that way, you primitive ape?"
Why haven't we killed these people? That's another thing that's very interesting about the story is you can tell there's a couple of moments throughout the series when the Dora Milaje or Zuri or T'Challa himself would have killed someone.
Yeah.
But T'Challa says it more than once, that they are in America, and while they're in America, they will observe American customs, like they'd expect an American to do in Wakanda, so they kill no one. And you can see, like, the Dora Milaje struggling not to, like, cut people's heads off. Yeah. And it's kind of disturbing.
There is that scene, actually, it's after one of our favourite scenes when T'Challa saves the drug dealers from the drowning car, or the sinking car, and then there's the Dora Milaje, and they're just after like beating the crap out of a bunch of drug dealers near the limousine, and they're about to kill him, and he goes, "No, we are in America, we are their guests, we cannot, we must do as the Romans do, when in Rome.
Do as Romans do." And that's actually a direct quote from T'Challa emerging from the water in his suit, completely dry, looking like fucking Busta Rhymes, and it's amazing. But Ross is, getting back to it, we're jumping back and forth. That's because different things keep coming to us at different times. Ross is a very, very important plot element.
Well, yeah, he's the one that kind of explains the entire story.
Yeah, if that story was told through T'Challa's eyes, or Nikki's eyes, or anyone else's eyes, it'd be completely different.
Yeah.
Like, there's the point where Mephisto meets Ross, and it is, you can hear the tone of the exchange. That's how you know if a comic book is good. If when people are talking, you can hear the tone by just reading it, and you can hear the tone of the conversation through the pages, and I absolutely love it.
Yeah, you can just tell, like, Ross is just so surprised by just Mephisto suddenly showing up that he doesn't know whether to crack jokes with him or if he should just stay serious or just stay silent.
Like, there's a running joke throughout the whole Client series that someone stole Ross's pants. Don't know who, don't know why, until the last issue.
I thought we do know who stole his pants. I thought he lost his pants when he was fighting the girls in the pit.
In the Foxy boxing. That happens towards the end, like, and then Mephisto's like, "My pants?" That's handsome. And then he's
Have all the pants.
yeah, he keeps trying to take the pants off, and every time he tries to take them off, he's like, "Oh my god, I sold my soul for a pair of pants." More keep appearing and appearing and appearing.
You can never take the pants off.
It's just so funny.
And then it gets even
Or there's the part where Ross tries to insinuate that Mephisto is gay, and Mephisto goes, "So are you?" And Mephisto goes, "Not today. Don't worry."
I don't think that was to do with if he was gay.
No, I think it was because it had to do with Ross taking his pants off. So he said, "So are you?" "Not today." So I think it meant that, like, the devil is, whatever he wants to be when he wants to be.
I thought it was like, so...
I could have interpreted it wrong. Like.
The way I interpreted it was he was going like, so are you... And then what he meant by that was, are you going to, like, let me take these pants off? Like, or are more and more just going to keep coming? And then, like, Mephisto's just like, look, not today, I gave you pants. Let that be that.
Yeah, Mephisto comes in and he's sitting on his throne of skulls and human souls. He looks bad. By the end, he's just frustrated with Ross, and he's sick of having to wait for the king, and he's tired of listening to the entire history of Wakanda being mumbled by Zuri in his sleep in the corner.
Oh, Zuri. We're spoiling all of the story.
Yeah, well, we gave them a spoiler alert.
We did.
They can deal with it. If they're still here at this point, it's their own fault.
The funniest part, though, I think, is when Zuri is looking for something to eat, and he's like...
He takes Mephisto's heart
out of a pickle
jar.
Yeah,
because we should probably give context that when Mephisto is in the real world, his power gets weaker and weaker by the second, and it gets to the point where T'Challa literally rips out Mephisto's heart, puts it in a pickle jar, fires it into the fridge, and goes for a little jaunt to hell.
Well, it's not that Mephisto's power got so weak. That's what happened. What happened was the hundreds of people that came with T'Challa were actually Wakanda's best scientists and engineers, and so they figured out that when Mephisto comes to Earth, there has to be certain constants to keep his power in check.
Yeah.
And so they realized that if they just made a magnetic field around the building that he was in and kept remodulating it, then what would happen was...
He lost his link to hell and didn't have his powers.
Yeah. And then
they go back to hell, and it's arguably one of the best moments in the whole storyline. Yeah,
it gets a bit weird. I wish it lasted a bit longer. It kind of felt like they were in hell for like 2 seconds, and then they came back.
You don't want it to last. You don't want it to be a whole thing.
I don't know. I mean, like,
stuck in hell, and you just have to wait for him to get out.
No, but I mean, it was just
the pacing of the story is excellent. Not that it happens too slowly or too quickly.
No, it's definitely well paced. There's always kind of like, I can't remember really any dull moments.
You're never bored, but you're never overloaded with stuff.
Yeah, there's no like massive like fight scenes that just go on for pages and pages and pages. Like every fight scene usually ends pretty quickly.
And that's kind of built to reflect the Panther's skills, and that he's trained in every martial art in the world. He's one of the best fighters ever, and fights with the Black Panther shouldn't last for pages and pages. They should be over in 2 seconds.
But even like when he's back in Wakanda fighting off the refugees, like they only show brief bits of that because they don't want to overload you with him just fighting off hordes and hordes and hordes of
enfranchised
refugees.
I know what it says, but it's kind of one of the least superhero comics out there.
Yeah, I suppose it feels more like a detective noir kind of thing. Yeah,
there's a lot of superhero elements to it, such as the latex. But
there's latex and, Mephisto, the devil's kind of showing up out of nowhere.
God damn it, if I hit this mic one more time, I'm going to put it through a wall. But it's less a superhero comic, more it's just a good story. Like, if you took out all the Black Panther elements of it, it'd still be a fully watchable movie.
No, because if you took out Black Panther, then obviously there'd be no fighting.
Okay, no. If you took out the fact that he's the Black Panther and just said he's a spy.
Yeah, it would work as a spy, except for the whole Mephisto.
Yeah, but beyond that, it'd be a perfectly watchable movie.
Yeah, it would. And to me, the big kind of plot twist at the end was very unexpected, just to me personally.
Oh, the thing about Ramonda?
Yeah.
Yeah, that... I almost want to tell you to keep the podcast going, but I don't want to ruin it for you.
It probably will. But I don't know. We are kind of coming up on time, I suppose.
We still have a few more points to talk about. Like another one is the phenomenal art.
Yes.
I think is it Vince something? I can't remember his name, but it's absolutely phenomenal.
Yes, the art is the first thing that kind of drew me into it. When you asked me, read the client for a podcast, I was like, all right, okay. And then I saw it was 1998, and I thought,
it's
God,
90s,
no.
90s ass, like
no,
over,
and then
over the top shoulder pads kind of art.
But that's not what I was thinking. I was thinking, am I going to get like blue hair as a representation of black hair, and pin strip art?
No, I'm a big fan of the whole pin strip kind of 80s, 70s kind of comic book art.
I don't know. I like it, but I'm much more of a fan of, I don't know, just
the modern stuff.
The modern stuff. And this one was kind of a nice bridge. You could definitely tell they were experimenting in this one. That
90s comic book art had a habit of being, everyone was in power armor, everyone had shoulder pads, and was big and had a 24 pack. But it's very conservative. It's very, not a lot's going on in every panel.
Yeah, but I mean, like the art's fantastic. The one thing I do have to say is that like the body proportions sometimes were a bit weird.
Yeah, like Zuri's about 12 foot tall.
No, not only that, but just like the way they kind of drew the muscles. Like sometimes when you look at T'Challa, you either think he's either like really overweight, or then when he puts on the Panther suit, you think like, where are these muscles on the side of his body coming from? There's like, I see like some panels where it's like just on the right side where his rib cage should be. It nearly seems like they've added an extra muscle there somewhere, and you're just thinking like, this doesn't look like a normal human would look like.
The art kind of needs to be good, because the opening page of the first issue of the storyline is a guy sitting on a toilet in his underwear pointing a gun at a rat called Buster.
Yeah, and the best part of that is that after all that happens in the story, that is the end of it, and that is like when Ross eventually pulls out his gun.
Yeah, Buster is like Ross's. Is Ross's Everest when he's in hell. Like his big nightmare that Mephisto makes him confront is the 1,000 rats named Buster, and it's fucking excellent. And that Ross has so little to worry about that Buster is his biggest fear, his biggest source of anxiety.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy too, because you think about like every character in that, except for maybe Ross and Nikki, have like so much to worry about. I mean, even the Dormelage have a lot to worry about. They have to worry about constantly pleasing T'Challa as part of
following his rules constantly,
and always making him happy. Like there's the scene where Mephisto tricks with his mind and makes him kiss Nakia, and she's just like, "What? Did I not please you? Have I failed?" You get this sudden. It's the only time she shows emotion. It's like a sudden rush of panic. That's
the only time you see the Black Panther panicking, like, "Oh shit, that is I made a mistake." Hi guys, we're back. So we had to do something, so that's why the podcast is choppy changey, and we left a point in the middle, but we'll probably edit that out so you won't know what we're talking about.
Why would we explain to them when we're editing out when we're editing out?
It's just nice for them to know what's going on behind the scenes.
They're never going to hear it.
Shut up. So what we were talking about before we had to go. The art of Budak Panther, as they would call it in Japan.
Budak Panther.
The art. No, we weren't talking about the art. We moved on from the art. We were talking about Nakia making a mistake because T'Challa.
We were talking about T'Challa kissing Nakia.
Right. Yeah.
Because of Mephisto, and then it's the only time you see Nakia make any make any emotion other than "I'm going to kill everything." Because she goes, "Oh shit, have I done something wrong? Have I not pleased you? Were you not pleased? Oh god!" And it's it brings back the whole point that it's very tribal nature in Wakanda.
T'Challa's like, "Oh, I'm going to jail."
Well, he wouldn't be, not in Wakanda, but he's going to American jail, which he does for like 2 seconds.
Yeah, because basically, if you don't know, the Dormelage, their technical position is wives in training for the Black Panther, and if he makes a move of any kind on any of it, it's seen as a proposal. So when he does it, it's Nakia's, and it's revealed later that Nakia's always kind of had a thing for him. So when he did it, it kind of like, her mind started going, oh fuck, this is it. I'm getting the D from the BP.
The BPD. Oh god.
But
BPM, the beats per minute.
The art does a really good job of conveying the shock, because Black Panther, fucking T'Challa, on a first name basis, because he's my best buddy, is wearing shades for the entire story. He never takes them off.
Except when you see his eye through because it's side view when he's...
Yeah, that is it. Shit! But, God, we've completely lost our train of thought now.
Yeah. I don't know. That's how we could wrap it up here.
No, we're not at the hour mark, Ben. God damn it.
We're not dragging this on if we've nothing else to say.
I'm sure we had loads else to say.
Yeah, just looking up at our board.
Yeah, we have a whiteboard of ideas.
We've done everything.
Yeah. Okay, guys. Let us know what you thought of this, and if we did a good job or not in the comments or whatever. Like, comment, subscribe.
Always like, comment, subscribe.
We'll eventually be selling our souls to Lootbox, so look forward to a discount code from them.
You mean Loot Crate?
They're all the same.
There's no one called Lootbox.
I'm sure there is. But we're gonna wrap it up here, guys.
Yep.
So we'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.